Alright, imagine this. You hear the first few notes of a song you haven't listened to in years. Maybe it's a track from your high school playlist, or the theme from your favorite childhood show. Suddenly you're back. Not just in memory, but emotionally. You can almost smell the room you were in, remember what you were wearing, who you were texting, what your world felt like. That's nostalgia. And let's be honest, we're kind of obsessed with it. From retro video games to 90s reboots, from vinyl records to Y2K fashion, nostalgia isn't just personal anymore, it's everywhere. Entire industries now profit by selling us the past. But why? Why do we keep reaching backward instead of forward? Why does the past feel safer, more authentic, somehow better than the present? Let's go deeper. The comfort of the known. Nostalgia hits hardest when life feels uncertain. Studies show that we're more likely to feel nostalgic during times of stress, transition, or loss. Like after a breakup, during a pandemic, or even when the news feels overwhelming. Why? Because the past is stable. It's done. It can't hurt us anymore. So when the future feels unknown or scary, nostalgia becomes a psychological safe zone. It's like emotional comfort food, predictable, familiar, and warm. It says, "Hey, remember when things made sense?" Even if that's not entirely true, our brain often edits the past to make it feel better than it was. What nostalgia actually is, according to science. Let's break it down. Nostalgia is a complex emotional experience that combines memory, emotion, and identity. It's not just remembering, it's reliving. Your brain triggers sensory and emotional memories tied to specific moments, often from childhood or young adulthood, formative years when your identity was still taking shape. That's why hearing an old song, seeing a toy from your youth, or smelling a familiar scent can hit you like a wave. Neurologically, nostalgia activates areas of the brain linked to reward, emotion, and memory consolidation, like the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. And here's the kicker, it can actually be good for you. Psychologists have found that nostalgia can increase feelings of social connection, boost mood, strengthen a sense of meaning, reduce stress and loneliness. In other words, a little nostalgia isn't just a guilty pleasure, it's emotional self-care. The golden age illusion. Ever notice how people say, "Things were better back then"? Whether it's movies, music, politics, or childhood in general, there's this persistent idea that the past was a golden age. But let's be real, was it really? Or are we just forgetting the bad parts? This is called rosy retrospection. Our brains naturally downplay the negative details of past experiences and amplify the good ones, especially when comparing them to the challenges of the present. So when people long for simpler times, it's often less about the era itself, and more about how they felt during that time. That's why someone might feel nostalgic for the 90s, not because everything was objectively better, but because they were younger, freer, more hopeful. It's not just about the past. It's about who you were in the past. Nostalgia as identity. Nostalgia isn't just about comfort, it's about continuity. In a world that changes constantly, nostalgia helps us anchor ourselves. It reminds us of who we are, where we've been, and what shaped us. That's why old photos, childhood homes, and favorite cartoons hit so hard. They don't just represent a time, they represent you in that time. And in the age of social media, we constantly curate and revisit these nostalgic moments to reinforce our narrative. It's not just, "Look what I used to love." It's, "Look who I used to be." And that gives us a sense of grounding in a chaotic world. Cultural recycling. When nostalgia becomes industry. Let's talk about the business of nostalgia. In recent years, media, fashion, and tech have fully embraced the nostalgia economy. Reboots, remakes, sequels, retro branding, Y2K aesthetic, old school filters on new content, the return of flip phones and baggy jeans. Why? Because nostalgia sells. It's safe. It taps into emotions. And it brings together generations, letting older audiences relive the past while younger audiences experience a filtered version of it for the first time. Marketers know nostalgia creates instant connection. It makes a product feel trusted, even if it's brand new. But there's a downside. When culture focuses too much on recycling the past, it risks becoming creatively stagnant. If we're always rebooting, what are we building that's new? The internet supercharges nostalgia. Before the internet, nostalgia was private, personal. Now, it's shared, streamed, memed, marketed. TikTok trends revive decades-old songs. YouTube documentaries break down forgotten pop culture. Entire Reddit threads are dedicated to toys, snacks, and commercials from the early 2000s. The result? Mass nostalgia, where an entire generation can collectively say, "OMG, remember this?" It's fun. It's validating. But it also turns memory into content, something we consume, remix, and monetize. Which raises the question: are we remembering or escaping? Real-world examples. Stranger Things. An entire Netflix phenomenon built on 80s nostalgia, from music to fashion to cinematic style. It's new, but it feels old. Polaroid cameras. Digital photography is faster, better, easier, but instant film made a massive comeback. Why? Because it feels real and tangible, just like old memories. Pop-punk revival. From Olivia Rodrigo to Machine Gun Kelly, Gen Z is rediscovering the emo/pop-punk aesthetic of the 2000s. It's cyclical, but also deeply nostalgic for millennials who lived it the first time. Final thoughts. Nostalgia is powerful. It reminds us of who we were. It comforts us when the present feels overwhelming. It connects generations across time. But here's the thing: the past isn't perfect. It's easy to get stuck looking backward, longing for old shows, old relationships, old better days. But if we're always chasing the past, we risk missing the beauty of what's happening now, or what could come next. Nostalgia works best when it grounds us, not when it traps us. When it inspires, not when it paralyzes. So enjoy that throwback playlist. Rewatch that old movie. Smile at that childhood photo. But don't forget: the past shaped you. The present defines you. And the future? That's where your next memories are waiting to be made. If this trip down memory lane resonated with you, give the video a like, hit subscribe, and tap the bell for more deep dives into the human experience. What's something nostalgic that always hits you hard? A song, a smell, a movie? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Stay reflective. Stay curious. And I'll see you in the next one.